Hey, how's it going? So we're starting into another segment that I plan to do more along the lines of a behind-the-scenes type of thing, a vlog or vlog, where I just kind of talk about stuff that's going on behind the scenes as far as the site or with me or that sort of thing. When I started to really get into what people were doing on the various video sharing platforms like YouTube, it was always the vlogs that I was attracted to, just seeing what people had to say and what they were doing with pretty well coming up with a video diary of their daily or weekly lives, and I found it really interesting, and that's actually where I was thinking about going with the channel. I ended up going with kind of jumping the gun and going with the first of all with the highlights videos, where I spotlight half a dozen or so movies that are premiering here in town, and then moving into doing the trailer reaction videos, all kind of with the intention of that culminating with me doing video reviews of movies. But we'll see how things go. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be transpiring in the next little while, but I do know that for the immediate future, for the next, well, for this week as well as probably the better part of next week, it's unlikely I'll have time to properly put together a highlights video or review any of the trailers that I had planned to do, which is kind of a kick in the head for me. But the reason behind the delay in getting back to that is that I got two copyright strikes over the weekend for a couple of the trailer review videos that I've done. One that's been on the channel for about a month, and the other one I had just uploaded last week. So I am in dispute over those two videos being flagged. If you're not familiar with the trailer reaction videos that I do, that I call moviequips double take, what I do is within a 8-minute to 10-minute video, I include the actual trailer that I'm going to be talking about. That's part of the reaction to it, and then I go ahead and I talk about the trailer and some of the actors who are in the upcoming movie and that sort of thing. The copyright flags have to do with me using that content, which is actually provided to me by the various distributors and movie studios through a clearinghouse website that I'm a registered member with. So I'm not exactly sure why I keep on getting kicked in the head by these copyright flags, because I do try to, along with attributing the content that I use back to its original source and back to its copyright owners, it seems as though, I'm guessing, one hand doesn't really know what the other hand is doing in regards to the studios or distributors uploading their content to the website that I'm a registered member of, for me and 30,000 other broadcasters and web reporters and reviewers and stuff along those lines. And the person who is going through YouTube videos that may contain their copyrighted content, and that's cool, I guess. When you're dealing with a large company, sometimes wires get crossed, or maybe they just want to verify that people like me actually are only using content that has been cleared. I wouldn't really use copyrighted content if I wasn't able to use it, because it would put myself at risk of being nailed for it. I know a lot of people do that sort of thing to see how much they can get away with, and I'm really not going to go there or talk about that. I just focus on what it is that I'm trying to do with reviewing trailers and highlighting movies that are coming to town. These last two strikes against me are kind of strange. I've had 4 strikes against me so far. The first one was cleared up fairly soon. It happened a few months ago. The second one I just let go because it really had to do with a third-party ownership of a clip of music that was used in a trailer that I'm guessing the distributor or studio that made the trailer available to me to use didn't properly clear through the third-party company that owned the rights to that musical clip. And so it was flagged, and I just let it go because, I mean, the movie trailer reviews were really only intended on being things that would sit on the channel for a relatively short period of time, mainly because I'm using content that in that case does have an expiry date. And it's one of the conditions of me using that content within the context that I use it for, is that I can't use it after a certain date, and so I'm cognizant of that, and that particular video that has the musical strike against it will be coming down fairly soon anyhow, probably within the next 3 or 4 days, so that it doesn't go past the expiry date. These last two, the third one, the third strike that I got as part of the 2 that I got this past weekend, or noticed that I had this past weekend, is a strange one in that the trailer was made available to me through a regular distributor that puts the content on the website that I'm a registered member of and have clearance to use, but the strike was actually made by another distributor that also has the rights for that trailer. So I'm not really sure how that's going to be resolved, or if it's going to be resolved, because I'm dealing with 2 different distributors. One that doesn't seem to have a problem with me using their content, and another one that just kind of came in from left field and decided that I couldn't use the content because they didn't give me permission to use it. So I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but we'll see. We'll see if I continue doing these trailer reactions, or if I'm going to get punched in the face on a regular basis for using content that's been made available for me to use. And that brings us to the most recent strike that happened this weekend regarding the trailer review and reaction video that I uploaded this past week. In that particular case, it is the same company that uploaded the trailer for me to use that has flagged the video for copyright infringement. So we'll see what happens with that as well, because I really don't want to end up having to deal with a lot of administrative stuff like this on a regular basis. It may end up just being the nature of the beast. I don't know. I've only been doing it for a short time, but it really does become a pain in the butt to have to stop what I'm doing and go back and get all of the stuff that I need in order to submit a dispute against whatever claims have been made. And I really only have X number of hours in a week to devote towards pretty well all of the stuff that I do regarding this site and all of its peripherals, including the videos that I make. So if I have to stop that or put things on hold in order to deal with the administrative stuff, then I have to kind of rethink on whether or not it's something that I want to continue to pursue, which is really something that I didn't really consider too much when I started doing these videos, is that there could very well be a possibility that I won't be doing them for very much longer, or I won't be doing them in the way that I had originally planned to, and have to kind of rethink it. I'm really not too sure if doing a trailer reaction video without actually showing the trailer is something that I'm talented enough to try and figure out how to do in an entertaining and captivating way. But we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. So that's one of the main reasons why I've kind of stepped back from what I'm doing, and I just wanted to put together this video. Like I said earlier, this vlog idea was something that I had been playing around with, but I had decided to go more with the highlights videos first, because they are heavily scripted as far as the blurbs about the movies, and then kind of ease my way into doing something that in this case really isn't scripted or planned at all, except that I have kind of a general idea of what I want to talk about without blathering too much about one particular thing, because that gets boring as well. The reason why I'm in my car, you might be interested, and don't worry, I'm not driving. My hands are off the steering wheel. You'd hear the car if it was on. I'm actually parked in a mall parking lot. And the reason why I keep looking around is to see if anybody's going to decide to come to the car, because I've been parked here for a little while and probably seem a little bit suspicious. But the reason why I'm in the car is because I just finished going to get the emissions test on the car. If you live in Ontario, then you know that there's a program called Drive Clean, and depending on the age of your car, you're either doing it once and you're good, or every couple of years if it's an older model. In my particular case, this car is fairly old, and so I need to get the emissions test done every couple of years as part of renewing the license plate. And basically the way it works is you get the emissions test, and if you pass the emissions test, then you take that paperwork to MTO, and they will issue you an updated license it's a sticker that you put on the license plate. Unfortunately, and this cuts into the time that I need in order to put together the videos that you've gotten used to coming from me, the car failed the emissions test. There's a little bit of a story behind that. Last week, my wife and I were out. We were driving around doing various things, and the check engine light came on in the dash, which is the first time that it's happened for us. And after going through the book and trying to figure out what to do, I set up an appointment with the mechanic to run a diagnostic on the car to see if it was something major or something stupid. Then 3 days after that of babying the car and not really taking it out too much, putting a little bit of gas in it, and just kind of keeping an eye on what it might or might not be, the check engine light went off. And so I thought, okay, well, is this because the gas cap wasn't on properly, or is it something more, or because it's an old car, is it something as stupid as there is still a problem, but the bulb of the check engine warning light is actually just blown out? And you know, I just didn't want to I didn't want a chance that the problem might still be something fairly major, and if it wasn't checked, then it could just get worse without us knowing. And I also knew that I had this emissions test coming up that leads to renewing the license plate. So I took it into the mechanic. He ran a diagnostic on it. He found that there was a fairly minor problem with the evaporator, which pretty well makes sense because it has been a stinking hot summer here in Ottawa, and whenever we've been out, instead of having the windows open while we're driving in order to kind of keep the car cool, we've been running the air conditioning more than normal. So it's not really that surprising in an old car. The more you use it, the more wear and tear you're going to put on the various components and various parts. The problem is that because he ran the diagnostic, it cleared the onboard computer, and you have to, once that happens, before you take it in for the emissions test, you have to drive the car. You have to take it city driving as well as highway driving for about 100 clicks so that the onboard computer can reconnect to all of the various components that it's monitoring. And if you do that, then you should be good to go for the emissions test. But because I was unaware that that's what I needed to do, I was just taking it for a local run, nowhere near 100 clicks since getting it back from the mechanic. And it failed miserably on the drive clean emissions test. And then we go for another drive clean test, and hopefully it will pass. If it doesn't pass, then that means that it's failed 2 drive clean tests in a row, and more problems occur after that. Also, if you live in Ontario, then you'll also know that most people don't give a crap about doing the emissions test until the time comes up where you need to renew your plates. And of course, that is linked to when your birthday is. So with all of this crapola that's been going on in various fronts, it's all culminating, it seems, around my birthday, which is pretty awesome in and of itself because for the most part I don't really celebrate my birthday. I know my wife loves to make a big deal out of it, which is pretty great because I don't when it comes to my birthday, because really birthdays at my age just remind me that I'm not getting any younger. So it's been a pretty crapola week and a half so far. I know that with most of the things that go wrong in life, that this too will pass, and I'll get back on board as far as making videos on a regular basis, back to the schedule that I'm used to doing, as well as getting the car taken care of and getting the license plate updated, and after the emissions test has been passed in one way or another. But as I say, it means that I have to devote more time to life stuff. So that's probably going to take up most of my time. There are a couple of other things too, but I don't really feel like getting into those right now. I may refer to them later. But those are the 2 main things that are happening at the moment, and just trying to get all of that taken care of in order to get back on track is probably going to take me the rest of this week and more than likely most of next week. Well, this one would be for the 25th. Would it be the 25th of September? Yeah, 25th of September to October 1st. And then the next one would be, if I had time to do it, would be from October 2nd through to, what's 2 plus 7? I'm so frazzled that I can't even figure that out. So to around October 9th. But I will get back on track as far as making those. And in the meantime, if you're still on this ride with me, which seems to be kind of hitting a bumpy spot at the moment, please do check out the site, because I will have time to do the text stuff regarding compiling and updating the premieres, the premiering movie listing on the site. I will have time to continue with the social media stuff, as far as microblogging through Twitter and Facebook, as well as doing the shout outs that I do every couple of days during the week, that if you follow me on Twitter you know about and either love or hate completely, because it fills up your Twitter feed coming from me. But as far as YouTube goes, yeah, and who knows, this vlog idea that I've been kind of playing around with probably since first getting more and more interested in what was happening on YouTube, it might actually become a regular weekly thing. I'm not sure yet. It really remains to be seen if I will have enough to talk about. I know there are a bunch of things. I can think of about a couple of dozen different topics that I could touch on, mainly having to do with behind the scenes on the site and making the videos, and what I do in maintaining the social media stuff, and what platforms I'm doing. I'll also, in the next little while, be upgrading the site even further towards its continued transition from being primarily a compendium of my opinions on various movies that I've seen over the years, to becoming more of a general resource website that from time to time will have movie reviews in it. But I'm not exactly sure at this point where it's going to go. Mainly because part of that upgrade does involve me trying to wrap my brain around